and democratically. Let's bring in Senator James Paterson now from Victoria. He heads up Parliament's Joint Committee on Security and Intelligence. Thanks for joining us again, James. Your thoughts firstly on that response indirectly from China?
Well, Chris, I try to make a habit as much as possible not commenting on the Global Times because sometimes it is their objective to get us to comment on them. They are an English language propaganda piece which is designed to influence the terms of our political debate. But there were equally strong comments made by the Chinese embassy here in Australia in response to Tony Abbotts' speech, calling him, among other things, a failed politician. And what I would say in response to that is it is much better to be a failed politician who honourably stood one office and lost office again than to never trust your people at all, to ever give them a say at all in the future of your country.
Tony Abbott said in his speech that the reason he didn't go to Taiwan and speak to this group a couple of years ago was because he feared it might be a poke in the face of China. It might be misread. Has he unreasonably provoked them this time?
Well, Tony was travelling to Taiwan in a private capacity and his thoughts are his own, but I thought a number of the observations that he made are inarguable. He said that Beijing is becoming more belligerent and aggressive towards the region and its neighbours, including Taiwan and Australia, but that is a regrettable trend and that it threatens to undermine the peace, prosperity and stability of the region, and that's not welcome to countries like Australia or our friends and allies in the region, and that countries like Australia, who are friends of Taiwan, need to do more to defend their proud, vibrant, liberal democracy. And we've made it very clear for a number of years now that anything other than a peaceful resolution of conflict over the Taiwan Straits is unacceptable, and that it's the self-determination of the 23 million Taiwanese people that should be the heart of that resolution.
Now, just while we're on China, can you tell me whether an Australian decision to target net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, whether that will weaken our economy, in fact, and help China strengthen its economy?
What I can assure you, Chris, is that the Morrison government will do nothing which weakens our economy relative to China or any other economy in the world, because what we are about is delivering a stronger and more prosperous economy. And if we can do that while also reducing carbon emissions, that's a great thing, but we will not be weakening our economy for the benefit of reducing carbon emissions.
So how on earth are we going to get to net zero carbon emissions in Australia by 2050 when the International Energy Agency says at least half of those emissions will have to come from technology that doesn't yet, those emissions reductions from technology that doesn't yet exist? What are we pinning our hopes on?
Well, Chris, you won't have to wait much longer for more detail on this from the government. It's been well foreshadowed in the media that the Prime Minister will have more to say about this before Glasgow. But one of the reasons I'm fundamentally optimistic is that the rate of technology take-up of low emissions that has happened in this country without incentives, without a carbon tax, without an emissions trading scheme, without the heavy hand of government, has been nothing short of phenomenal. And it is, in many cases, just private individuals, private citizens and businesses who, for their own reasons, want to invest in rooftop solar, for example, for their home or their business, or other initiatives that reduce their electricity demand at their home or their business, that have done that and have delivered those very significant emissions reductions that we have already done. And we are well within all the commitments we've made, and we may be in a position to make a more generous commitment, but only because of that fantastic technological take-up and not because of a carbon tax or an ETS.
All right, before I let you go, you might not be an expert on the internal machinations of the Labor Party, but on your Parliamentary Committee on Intelligence and Security, your deputy chair is Labor's Anthony Byrne. Do you believe that he can stay in Parliament and stay in that position, given his revelations about branch stacking and the like before the corruption inquiry in Victoria?
Chris, the Labor members of the PJCIS, including the deputy chair, are a matter for the Labor Party and Mr Albanese as Labor leader. And if, as a result of internal Labor Party issues, they want to make a different decision, that is their right. All I can say about Anthony Byrne is that in my experience dealing with him on the committee, and I think in the experience of my predecessors, he's been a very constructive, very collaborative, very bipartisan person who's very much driven by the national interest and has helped the committee work in a very diligent and bipartisan way to uphold our national security interests.
James, thanks for joining us.